Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, awesome wife and dog mom for life. I'm a sex therapist turned sex coach, and I run a successful business selling relationship enhancement products. I absolutely love talking about all things sex. So you can expect this podcast to explore all things related to women's sexual health because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover and embrace what brings you pleasure so that you can own your sexual self. If that sounds good to you, then keep listening and let's fucking do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I have on with me another guest today. I know this month has been filled with guests, but March is such an epic month for us to be able to talk about information and just spread so much awareness about important topics that are out there in the world. So we had the month kicked off with our Endometriosis Awareness Month episode with LJ's Powerhouse, and now I have on with me Alyssa Hudachek, who is actually a pure romance sister of mine, and I've been following her journey with surrogacy. And so if you didn't already know this, March is also Surrogacy Awareness Month as well. And so I thought it would be super cool to have Alyssa on today to talk about her journey as being a surrogate, as well as just shedding some light on this topic and providing us all with some information about surrogacy. So Alyssa is a full-time mom, a wife, and also a pure romance consultant. And in January of 2020, she decided to look into becoming a surrogate through an agency. And of course, you know, COVID, that life, that put a delay on things. But in June, she received an email that an intended parent was interested in her profile. She says that surrogacy is very similar to like online dating, and basically once you are matched, that's when your journey begins. And they are so happy that they're finally at that point of growing a happy and healthy baby. So I don't want to shed too much light on her story, but I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for being on the podcast with us today.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too. I know we're not too far away. You're in Ohio, I'm in Michigan, so that you're definitely one of my closer guests that have been on the podcast.
Right. Thank gosh for Zoom, right?
Yeah, no kidding. And so I let our listeners know rather that we have been connected through the pure romance world. And when I started planning my content for the podcast and stuff this year, I saw that, you know, March is Surrogacy Awareness Month, and you are my only person like in my network of people that I know that has gone through this. And so I think it's super cool that you're willing to come on and share your story. And I know you have resources and things that you can share with people. So I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Really, it started 2019. You know how Facebook is a creepy thing, and like I just saw an ad for an agency. I must have known I was maybe thinking about it already to be a surrogate. And so it didn't work out with that agency. So I was a little bit let down when I first explored surrogacy the first time because things were rolling very quickly. We were in contact. They were getting my information, and then all of a sudden, when they got some of my medical records, they said, oh, you're not a candidate. So I was really bummed about that. And then some time went by, and then in February of last year, I decided to look at other agencies because when I was talking to some people, what they saw in my medical record is not an abnormal thing. It's not a weird thing that happens when you're giving birth. My placenta it needed removed versus coming out with the baby, with my daughter, which is like, not an abnormal thing, but with a larger agency, sometimes they really, really nitpick because they have so many women coming to them that they can do that. So I decided to look into a different agency, and again, you know, Facebook gods, there was an agency came up in my feed through a mutual friend. And so I clicked on it, and I decided to go ahead and apply again to become a surrogate. Now, when you apply, this is something that I definitely didn't know right away. It is a really large list of requirements. You have to be a certain BMI. You have to have already had children, healthy children. They want you to be in a healthy relationship, high school graduate, like all these different things. And when you're looking at it, it really makes sense because, I mean, you are compensated for being a surrogate. But so they want to make sure that you aren't just, you have 6 kids and now you just want a paycheck for having a 7. So they do really do a lot of screening. To make sure that you're a good fit and that this is going to work out. It's also very expensive. When someone gets to the point that they're doing IVF or surrogacy, they have spent so much money, and insurance doesn't touch it. Mm-hmm. Insurance does not cover any part of this process. So at this point, you know, they really want a baby. And so they're just making sure that, you know, you're a proper candidate that's going to do as much as you can to make sure that this works out good for everyone. So I found a smaller agency. It's called Wishful Miracles. And so I applied with them. And again, things started rolling quickly. This was in January last year. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? Yeah. COVID. So things stopped. And I was in their system. You kind of create a like dating profile. They wanted pictures of me and my family, pictures of things I like to do. I answered tons of questions. And so then when intended parents are looking at the profiles, they kind of like, oh, I vibe with this person. I like the looks of this person, their family, whatever. And so it's kind of like a dating profile. But anyway, so in February, in March, everything kind of just went silent. And I just kind of was like, oh, you know, maybe now's not the time, whatever reason, but I'm in the system. Here we go. And then in June, I got a text message from the agency. Are you still interested in being a surrogate? We have someone interested in your profile. And I was like, oh my God, like I just kind of forgot about it because it's been so crazy. I was like, yes. And so she got to see my whole profile. And then you have a Zoom date basically to, again, make sure. So you match on on the profile side of things. And now they want to make sure that in some sort of in-person that you match there as well. And so my agency is actually in California. I'm in Ohio, but then I find that happens a lot with agencies. There's so many. They're all over the place. And it just depends on who you get matched with. And the parents can be also, they can not just be from America, they could be from other countries as well. And it just depends on how it works itself out. But the Zoom went well, and we both said yes, we want to move forward. But so if you think about that, that was in June that we started like dating, and we are just now hoping today that I'm pregnant. Like I went for blood work this morning, and we'll find out this afternoon if the transfer worked. So it can take a long time to actually, it's not like you match and you're pregnant in a month. It's not, it's a long process, and some parts of it can be even longer. So once we were matched, I had to go to her clinics. You have to go to their fertility clinics. Again, if you're at the point of surrogacy, you've likely gone through a lot of channels of trying to have the baby yourself. And so now you're at this point. And the reason I wanted to be a surrogate is that I think it's always been an issue for a lot of women becoming pregnant, having issues conceiving, whether it's their partner on that side or themselves. And I think with social media now, people are sharing it, and we're seeing how hard it is for so many women and couples to have that baby, and it's painful, and they want it so bad. And we were able to have our two girls, no problems at all. And we love our little family. I get emotional about it. And so thinking that someone wants that so bad and they aren't able to do it for themselves, that's when I was like, I have to try to do this for somebody, because I was very healthy pregnancies. I loved being pregnant, and we had no issues. So obviously I'm capable of doing that. So that's why I got into it, because I just was like, if I can help someone have the love that my house has, I have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me a little hot. So then we had to go to her clinic in Connecticut, and I had to have like a physical screening. They do an ultrasound to check all of your uterus and make sure everything looks healthy, and that you're going to be a capable surrogate for them. So we had and then we also had to have psychological evaluations. So I had 2 psychological evaluations, one through my agency, because that's just their protocol. They have a, on-staff psychologist. And then this clinic also wants you to have one through their psychologist. So I had 2 screenings to make sure that I was mentally sound. That was something else that when I told my family and friends, my husband totally on board. He's amazing. He has given me all the injections and shots, and he's awesome. But then other people are like, oh, you're gonna what? Like, they're worried about your mental health, And I'm just like, well, we're done. We don't want any more kids. And so I know that this is not my baby, and it truly isn't my baby. It's their egg and sperm, and it has nothing to do with me. I am simply the oven cooking it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like a real disconnect. I didn't see myself being connected and feeling any sort of emotional turmoil at the end of it. But so you have to go through the physical screening, the psychological screening, and once you've gotten past that point, so then you move on to contracts. And now when you work with an agency, this is another really perk to working with an agency and not just trying to find intended parents on the internet, which you can do. People do that. But working with an agency, I don't have to do anything but show up to where I need to show up to. They link me up with a lawyer in my state. They, then they work with the intended parents lawyer. It's all very easy that way. But the contracts, that's like the big piece before you start meds and then really have a timeline. And so I was like, and it was like around Thanksgiving for us. So I was like, of course there's holiday days, and I was just so eager. I'm like, let's just get it done. And hopefully the intended parent doesn't want anything wild and crazy in the contract. And we just want the bait, like we're good with whatever. So, but contracts can take a week, or they can take months and months of going back and forth. Some intended parents might want you to like eat all organic and, do this sort of weird exercise or prenatal yoga. There's different requirements sometimes that they could potentially ask for. And you can say yes or no, or however it works out. So that's why contracts can sometimes take a long time, but luckily nothing weird on either of our ends. We were just like, let's do this, make the baby and get going. So we got done with contracts. And at that point, then we started medication. So this is the other thing. Like, there's like your needles every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I always say, whenever I'm sharing about the surrogacy, that if you did want to do it just for the compensation, you wouldn't get far enough into the process, because it can be so much legwork and time between. I haven't gotten a dime yet, and I'm potentially pregnant today. Like, it's just based on, that's just how it works. So you wouldn't get that far anyway, but I always say, like, you really have to do it for the right reasons, or you won't make it anyway. Yeah. But after contracts, they ship meds here to my house. So you start taking hormones to get your body ready, but it also shuts down my reproductive system, but also prepares my body to take a baby. So it's kind of really crazy, the science behind it all. So it shuts down my ovaries so that they're not producing anything. Like on the ultrasound the other day, she's like, oh, good, your ovaries are nice and quiet. Like, nothing's happening in there. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, thanks.
So then they amp up the hormones that are things you produce when you are pregnant. So you're on those for a few weeks, and then they check your levels. You get blood work done, and they check your levels, and you get ultrasounds to check your uteral lining so that it accepts the embryo. And once those things look good, which sometimes can only take a week, someplace, I think I had to take those medications for 4 weeks. And then at that point, everything looked good, and we were good to go back to Connecticut. And we were there for 3 days for, the embryo transfer. So this is like, it's so cool. It's so cool. So it's, they have the embryo, and the embryos are frozen, and they're 2 weeks old already. So when you get an embryo implanted, if it takes, you're already, 2 weeks along. So that's kind of neat. And a lot of times they already know the gender of the embryos, which is another crazy, it's microscopic, and they know if it's a boy or a girl. It's crazy. If it took, it is a little girl for me.
Oh, yeah.
Which is exciting, because I have 2 daughters. So I told the intended parent, I was like, oh, I'm good at growing girls, so this should be great. So here we go. The embryo transfer, so it's just a same-day procedure, in and out. I think it was less than 10 minutes. It's not a really intensive thing. You go into the hospital, or sometimes the doctor's office. It just depends on your situation. And just like when you're at the gynecologist, they put in and open up the uterus so that the cervix, so that they can see into there, and then they catheter into the uterus. And then through the catheter, they put the little embryo, and you can see it on the screen. It lights up this little white dot on the screen, and that's it. And they check the tube to make sure that the embryo didn't stick inside, and that it did go in like it looked like it did. And then you just wait and wait and wait. So then they can check for the pregnancy hormones 8 to 10 days later, which is what we're at today for our journey. We are at day 9. So we'll find out this afternoon with the blood work if the levels show that we're pregnant or not.
That is so exciting that we're recording this right now and you're sharing this. I mean, like that, yeah, it's like it's come full circle and I'm excited to hear. I already know it took and everything's going to be great, but.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so hopeful. My husband said, he's like, based on your behavior the last week, I think that you're like, I'm just a little bit snappy sometimes. And I'm like, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Or just a little bit of cravings already. I'm so tired. I'm napping. I never nap. So there's different little things that I'm thinking positive thoughts. So
that's great. And so you've been in this waiting period for some time, and there's, I'm sure, things that you can and cannot do during this time frame, like have sex, for instance. So what has that been like for you personally, for your marriage, for family?
Yeah, so it's even funnier for our, like, I understand everything, every little thing that we've had to do or has to, like the requirements or this or that, if we've had to, I had to lose a little bit of weight right at the beginning just to make sure that I was in the right zone. And while that's annoying, because I'm like, I'm healthy, I exercise, but it's based on BMI and it just is what it is. But like my husband's had a vasectomy. For a while at the beginning, I was on birth control to help with the medication. And so I was like, why can't we have sex? Like, why can't we have sex? It's not going to even work. Nothing's going to work. But you just have to do what you have to do. And, we're both in pure romance. So I actually did a Facebook Live for my clients that sex can be so much more than penetration. And we just limit it so often that, or especially, maybe not especially, but a lot of times partners are like, oh, we can't have sex. Like, but we can do so many other things. We just can't have sperm in my vagina. That's it. Like that, everything else is fine. We can figure other things out. And so one of my clients is pregnant. She was really excited to hear, mutual masturbation, using toys on each other, watching porn and just taking care of, maybe you're not totally in the mood because you are tired and pregnant, but just taking that extra step to help take care of him so that he feels whole and like he's still special. Because especially when a baby's involved, if not surrogacy, but your family is pregnant, everything is about that baby and you right now. So the focus is really taken off of you as a couple and like, how are you, honey? How are you? And it really is shined on the pregnancy. And so making sure you take that time, even if you're not totally into it at the moment, to make them feel special and loved and have fun with it is going to really build that connection between you and your partner. Because when that baby comes, like, things are different and things are hard, and having that connection so strong right up until that moment is going to help you guys get through that stage of newborn. So getting creative for sure has been fun. We have one more week, believe me, he's counting, before we can go full throttle.
Yeah, that, I'm sure that's tough. And with having to lose weight in the beginning, like making diet changes. Luckily, you said that your intended parent, they didn't have any like crazy regulations, but there's some people that have to go through that and do like pretty extensive lifestyle changes, it sounds like.
Yeah, because and you would know a lot because you can break. I like to say break up, like we're dating. At any point when we have the Zoom, we asked, because some people, it is more of a business relationship, especially maybe on the intended parent side. Like, you're growing this baby, but then we're like done. I don't need to talk to you anymore. We don't need to be on social media. We don't need any of that. And for me, I was good with whatever happened, but I was hoping that organically maybe we would click. And we will be friends, and I will be able to see this baby grow up and, watch your life change with this child that I helped you have, and so far so really good there. We text a lot, and I think it's going to be really good for us, but sometimes it's not that way. So you ask those important questions up front, because if it's not going to, you got to hang out for a long time. At least 9 months, if not more, with the whole journey beforehand. So if it's not a good fit or a good click, you can break up and they'll go look for another surrogate, and your intended parent will come along eventually too.
And I'm wondering, do the agency or other agencies that you know of, do they hook you up with like a surrogate support group that you can connect with other people that are going through the same thing?
So I'm sure that does exist. I've found that there are a gazillion Facebook groups. I'm already in so many myself that I have to maintain that I wasn't necessarily interested in having an additional one. But surrogacy is really fairly new. IVF is really fairly new. The whole process and the science, but about making babies beyond the regular way, is still a fairly new thing. So there's not a ton of resources. I know when I got started, I was like, is there a book? Is there like a pamphlet? Is there something I can read? Because sometimes the clinics talk to you like you already know things. I'm like, I'm a first timer here. I don't know what that 3 letters means. Can you please fill me in? And also not being scared to ask those questions. So there are tons of Facebook groups that I have seen. And I think another great way too, if you're getting into it or want to learn more or follow someone's journey, is like looking up hashtags. Like I've been using, not all the time when I post, but a lot, I've been using hashtag surrogacy journey. And I've just made several new Instagram friends. And so now I messaged the one the other day because I was like, this week has been torture, because sometimes I feel like, that's different. I don't normally feel like that. And then the next day I'm totally normal. I'm like, is there a baby in there or not? So she actually has twins. So I was like, hey, what was your first week like after the transfer? But if there was 2, it might have been more intense. She said, I felt totally normal that first week. So like, don't stress about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So that made me feel better. So definitely, checking out social media and connecting with someone going through it, I think is going to be beneficial. I'm glad that I've come across these few girls that I have, that we've been able to bounce things off of each other versus a large, Facebook group where there's just so many people.
So tonight is the day you find out if you're pregnant or not. So let's say that you are pregnant. So then you go on with normal pregnancy. Is there anything else that's required from the intended parents? Like you have to meet up with them? Is that more contractual? Like what happens next basically?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm with their IVF clinic up until 12 weeks of pregnancy. So technically 10 because the baby's already 2 weeks old. And that's just them monitoring my blood work. They get to view the ultrasounds, make sure all that's good. You also need to continue the hormone medication, typically till 12 weeks through your first trimester. And that is just precautionary to make sure that everything sticks, as what they say a lot, like we want it to stick. And so you will also keep taking, there's a hormone, there's a pill, and then there's an injection that's intramuscular. So those, you'll be doing those every single day for at least, 12 weeks roughly, if not a little bit more than that. So again, that's a big commitment. When it comes to the intended parents, again, I was open to, and so it's going to be different for everyone's journey, but I was really open, like, be here as much as you want if you want, because all the doctor visits will now be where I live with my normal OB once we're at that 12-week mark. So if the intended parent wants to come and be at those, COVID allowing, then they're totally welcome to do that. So it's kind of, per case by case basis. So my intended parent is also wanting to be at as much as she can. And then when it came to the delivery room, like these are things you really do need to think about, because I would love to have my husband there, but it might only be one other person. And in my eyes and in my perspective, this is their pregnancy. This is their birth. This is their baby. So if that means that my husband can't be there and only one person can, then I want that intended parent in the room, and she can be as close as she wants to the action. Like I have no, I'm not shy about that at all. I'm like, deliver that baby if you want, like whatever needs to happen. So it just depends for each person. And then it's also state by state. So there's different laws. Ohio is pretty cool because we can do the legal part up front, that like they walk into the hospital with a piece of paper that says, this is my child, and the custody, like it's no like hassle at the hospital at the birth, versus sometimes some states, from my understanding, you might have to like hang out at that state if you don't live there and do like court hearings to get custody of the baby. It's like it can be a little bit extra. But yeah, so once birth happens, which should be around December, end of November, December this year, the intended parent can be there for the birth and take their baby home right away. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, and there's no point where you could be like, just kidding, I want to keep this baby.
No,
because it's not even your
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's what I could like, because I have some friends who are like, are you sure you're good? And I'm like, it's not my baby. Like, it's truly not my baby. I can't not be good about it. It's not my baby. Mm-hmm. Nothing is biologically mine. And that's another thing with surrogacy. It can be different versions of it, right? Like maybe you did give also the egg, and then they're just applying sperm and getting you pregnant. There's different ways that surrogacy can go. So in this case, nothing is is biologically mine. I'm just, again, the oven.
The oven. Yeah. Because as you said, you and your partner, there is a restriction on having intercourse throughout this process, so that you make sure it's their baby, not your baby.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's so, yeah, that is so fascinating. It's so different than, somebody that is adopting a child from, like, through foster or through adoption, that from a person that is currently pregnant, that already knows they want to give their baby up for adoption. Like, this is very, very different from that now that I'm talking with you.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool thing. It's crazy. And I think it's a really exciting thing to help someone who, again, can't do it for themselves, or it's a health risk to them and the baby if they were to get pregnant. And there's just so many different scenarios that, you can really be giving someone this really cool gift. And I'm just excited to be part of that for somebody.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier, too, that there is some sort of compensation involved with this. And you said right now, even up to today, you haven't received any money. Where does that come in? The person that is being the surrogate, do they get paid after the baby is delivered? Is it like installments? Is it all at once? Like, how does that work?
So I'm assuming it can be different in different scenarios. I'm not 100% sure on that. But for us, it's going to be monthly. It gets broken down into monthly after the heartbeat. So, because assuming it doesn't go the way we want it to, if I was already compensated and we just call it quits, I have to give that money back. So they wait until there's the heartbeat appointment and that the baby is growing and everything is good and you're past that mark into the pregnancy, so that it's like, oh, we're full steam ahead. There's nothing that we need to worry about. And so that's when compensation starts kind of playing out. And everything else, though, like the travel, that's all covered by them. My hotel, my miles, all of that kind of stuff is taken care of. So you're not putting money, into it, but it is a minute until the compensation starts rolling.
And do you know, from the person that is reaching out to find a surrogate, do you know what the average price of that is?
So typically surrogates, if you're a first-time surrogate, from most of the information I've seen, you are going to be compensated around $45,000. And that is if you're a first-time surrogate, and there's different circumstances. Sometimes it can be more. So if you're a second-time surrogate, then compensation goes up because you're more experienced. You can go, you're just going to be quicker with the whole process because you've already done it before, things like that. So they do get compensated a little more if you're a repeat surrogate. But for the most part, I've seen around $40,000, $45,000 for that compensation.
And so that cost comes from the person that's reaching out to you. They pay that cost, and then is there extra costs on their end too for like paying the agency, and then that travel costs and hotel costs and all that? Like, it's pretty costly for somebody that's wanting to find a surrogate.
It is. It really, really is. I mean, and just to imagine they've probably already gone through the IVF process, which is expensive in and of itself. And now they're at this point, they have put so much money into having this baby. And I think that's another reason it's just so important. It's an important job to be a surrogate, because they have poured and invested so much into just having this little human being that, it's exciting to be able to give that to them. But yeah, I mean, everything at that point is out of pocket. Insurance has nothing to do with the IVF, as far as I've seen so far. And so you're doing it just because you got love in your heart and hopefully money in your pocket.
Yeah, and like you said, these people, like, they really, really, really want a child, and they're willing and able to do whatever the means are to make that happen.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you again so much for coming on and sharing this with everybody. I imagine that I was going to ask you questions throughout, but you literally have obviously shared this story more than once, and this really just, I thought, flowed very well. And I know that I feel like I have all of my questions answered at this. Will you say the name of the agency again, actually, if anybody was looking to look into this?
Yeah, so my agency, if you type in surrogacy, you will find so many, but I've really enjoyed working with a smaller agency that's more personal, and it's Wishful Miracles Surrogacy, and their website is wmsurrogacy.com. So Wishful Miracles Surrogacy.com. And if you are exploring surrogacy, the one thing that has gotten me through so many points in this process, because the first agency I went with didn't work out. I was stressed pretty much the whole time. So I was like, at any point, this really could stop at any point during the process until now, hopefully. Things could have just been, no, we're done. But my best friend is from Ireland, and there's an Irish saying, if it's for you, it won't pass you by. So I was constantly saying that to myself through this whole thing. If it's for me, it won't pass me by. If it does pass by, it wasn't meant to happen. It wasn't for me. So that was something that's really gotten me through this whole thing that I've said to myself a million times. So if it's for you, it won't pass you by.
I love that. And we'll definitely share that in the show notes. I think that's a great phrase for people in general just to live by and remember.
Yeah.
Cool. And if somebody, I appreciate you sharing that hashtag too. The hashtag surrogacy journey is what it was, correct? So we'll link that. Yes. And if somebody wanted to find you through social media to connect, how would you prefer that they reach you?
So Facebook would just be Alyssa Hudachek. And then on Instagram, it's PR by BY Alyssa Hudachek.
Perfect. And we'll link both of those too. So you're nice and easy to find. Awesome. And yeah, thank you so much again. This was so great, and I just super appreciate you coming on today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I hope it helps someone try something exciting or learn a little bit more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And if you loved it so fucking much, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next week, and until then, keep owning your sexual self.